Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stoneface Reactions. I'm Griffin, that's Theta, and we are here, over there, that's Theta down there, and we are here to go ahead and read some more manga. We're back with Vanadis Heart. We read the prologue, and now we're on to episode 1 here.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1,
I
right.
mean, it's a
Sorry,
manga, right? It is chapters, I would assume.
it is in fact a written format, as I've been told. But we've gone ahead and read it ahead of time, and we're going to be going ahead and going over it and our thoughts here with you, and seeing what new and interesting things it kind of brings to our little Witch from Mercury universe.
I do want to say right off the bat, in case I make this mistake at any point during all of this,
Of course.
that when I've been writing down notes for all this, every time Vilda shows up, I had to course correct many times not to call her Videl from Dragon Ball Z, only specifically because the same letters, except for one's an A and one's an E.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, it just pops in my head every freaking time.
I got something else I got to course correct on, but I think I'm going to keep on top of it, so we won't even have to worry about it. And that is, our main character is too cute.
Which one? Q?
Yes, Q, the young character.
Um, I literally had a conversation just before we started recording where I said, "Hey Griff, do not let me do the synopsis for every one of these. I will die." And I just wanted to bring up now that I've also, in the synopsis things that I've done, I've also created like chapters for these where I've put a bunch of the pages together into like little chapters. Most of them, apparently, I forgot to give page 3 any sort of thing. Like, I wrote a little synopsis of what's happening there, but like pages 1 to 2 have a chapter name. Pages 4 through 7 have a chapter name. Chapter 3 sits alone.
It is the forgotten child. But I suppose let's just go ahead and get into it and see what it has to offer us. So before we go ahead and begin, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and comment down below to feed that algorithm. On top of all that, if you watch more shows like this, unfiltered, uncensored, and uncut, as well as some early access stuff, you can check it out over on the Patreon. It's just $5 a month, but no pressure. It's also worth the challenge, just a little bit extra.
So, since I said not to let me do it, let me go ahead and start.
Hell yeah.
Let's see, pages 1 to 2 I have labeled Mystery Box. We open on the scene of an operating room, some form of an EKG, and the face of a surgeon. I'd gamble that the surgeon is Vilda. But despite the last panel clearly focusing on a heart and a chest cavity, it seems unlikely that the person being operated on is Kiyu, based on the fact that they seem to be the height of an adult and not a child.
Ah, good point. I was about to bring up, like, do you think this is Kiyu? But, like, no, that is an adult size. I think an important thing in noticing who the surgeon is, of course, is take a look at the eyes. The secondary ring, I believe, means that there is cybernetic surgery that has been done, and that has not happened to our scientists.
You have literally already jumped me on a huge thing that I've written a ton of shit for. That a bunch of characters in the show have a second linear ring in their eyes, and I've done a little jump ahead and back and forth to see which characters do and do not have this trait. Anyway, we'll get to that when we get there.
Perfect. So,
yeah. Even when I was writing the comment, though, I did the whole. All right, she's as tall as a thumb. He is as tall as a thumb.
So that's our first 2 pages here. We have the
What's our
surgery
first page?
Our first page. Oh yes. It's very symbolic, but we get some more slight particulars in the second one, with the tools and of course holding the hand. Do you think maybe the person here is dead?
Well, I literally have a note here. If I had to guess, she's taking a manual pulse for some reason. The tools of the surgery and another. For some reason, I think I was describing the second panel, but that's what I think is happening in the 2nd panel. Skin tone of the hand does seem to match Kiyu's, so future speculation that perhaps it's his dad?
That might be too wide of a speculation for me. I'm gonna just go ahead and take a pass on that
Well,
one.
then you're gonna hate the next 74 pages.
Oh, let's go then.
Wide speculation's all I got. This is chapter 1. We know nothing.
So let's take a look at the next page, which is, of course, hey, look, we're back on the satellite. Love.
Yeah, we
By
go
that I mean,
to
Aux
back.
Station, I believe.
No, Falk Wagner. We
Falk
go
Wagner.
back to another scene from the prologue. First a view of Falk Wagner. Then the assault teams rushing down the corridors, gunning people down as they give orders to find Carter Nabo and destroy all of the witch's technology.
Indeed. So a good little recollection of that. And our next page, of course, has them, I think, also panicking on Earth over this as well.
Pages 4 through 7, a little chapter I call Leave None Alive. We get the reverse shot from Oxearth broadcast to Nadim, where their HQ is getting the exact same treatment on Earth. A somewhat chilling view of a monitor covered in blood showing a mobile suit. Having done the minimalist of research, the closest thing I could make it out to be was the Gundam Lifrith pre-production model, which is the same type of mobile suit that Nadim and Wendy were flying around in.
Yeah.
The head markings and the mid-chest appear to be pretty much the same on first inspection. The only confusing thing is that it's there after they lost communications with the front. And also in the timeline of events, they hadn't launched any of their mobile suits into space yet, as not even Wendy had been killed yet. So maybe actually just a picture from testing, and not like because the confusing bit
It
is
doesn't seem to have like a border frame there.
well, I mean, it looks like it's in space. That's the confusing bit to me.
Yeah. Of course, my favorite line here is the Spacians are drunk on power. But you said this goes up to page 7, where
Right.
of course we have back to our favorite researcher going over her philosophy all over again. We got this in the prologue, we got this in the Vanadis art prologue, and now we have it again in chapter 1.
Yeah, sorry, I thought I had a note here. Oh, yeah, sorry. For some reason, I wrote the note about page 7 above page 7. The last panel is painted so ominously that if I were completely new to the series, I wouldn't be shocked to find out that Cardo was actually the villain all along. A dark silhouette against a backdrop of Earth, only her eyes illuminated to those she's talking to. It's a very villain-esque picture.
I would almost assume like a Mass Effect moment of like assuming direct control. You are too fragile. Yeah.
Or, the, what was his character? I want to say cigarette smoking man, but that's what he did, not who he was called in Mass Effect 3.
Oh, in Mass Effect. I'm sorry, I wouldn't be back to X-Files and the cigarette smoking.
Well, because he's like there overlooking a planet or something in his thing.
Cerebus, I think.
What was the name of his group? That was not what his name was. Anyway, not important.
Yeah, okay.
We're going off tangent there.
A little bit.
Episode pages 8 through 10, I've labeled recap, because that's what we're doing again. Starts the final scenes of the Vanadis incident, shows us the moments before Lifrith launches, apparently indicating that there were people in the hangar at the time that they died, in much the same way as everyone else. Gives us a little more weight to the crying Aerie that we know is inside, and I guess a little more insight into how quickly she calmed down and became the laughing kid pointing at explosions and calling them candles minutes later. The page also defines what the Vanadis incident was. Page 9 continues to indicate the results of the Vanadis incident in the way that the gun format technology gets banned, also showing the launch of the Lifrith as all the blood of those that died in the hangar gets sucked out into space.
And of course, we have a very good framing of the Gundam here with all of that as the backdrop, which I think is this is a very good artistics 2 panels right here.
Well, that's why
this would look great on a poster.
Why I indicated the crying area that we know is inside that with all the blood floating around. Page 10 brings our focus back to Earth with scenes from the prologue showing people's anti-Gundam viewpoints.
Gundams took my child's life.
Basically, in one shot of the road we left on in the prologue, minus the space elevator in the distance, which is apparently missing.
It could just be a different mountain. But Gundams took my child's life. Definitely kind of reframes some of the technology and what the hell was going on with the Gundams.
I think
What is the backstory to all of this technology here? I feel like maybe we're missing a piece of evidence. Maybe it's slightly more sinister than we are being shown as viewers.
Right. I also think I realized what's going on in my early numbering. I think I was numbering on the page number and not the listed page number on top. Because the next thing is 11 and 12, which is a spread, right? Which is actually 12, 13. So I think my early numbers are just one off.
There you go.
Because thankfully after this, my next listing is page 14 to 15, which means I've missed 13 somewhere. But it means it's going back to my normal numbering.
Yeah. But here we have it, Chapter 1, our official splash page, where you have young Q, with, of course, the circular eyes, as we've noticed before, having fun just drawing the landscape, I believe, and, of course, the truck on the road. Add Stella 106 Earth.
So,
our dates matter.
Yeah. Also, the next, this page 14 to 15 spread is where I bring up the limbo ring thing myself. So, you were quick to do it in the very first close-up. I thought the purpose of this spread was the focus on the eyes in the third panel, which is why I brought it up here.
I would like to bring up a different focus of the eyes. If you go ahead and take a look at like the top left panel here on 14-15 spread, god damn those eyelashes. For a second there, I thought it's like, oh, those eyebrows are moving. It's like, no, they're those are the eyelashes. Those are the bushiest damn eyebrows I have ever seen.
Did you ever watch Dead Man Wonderland?
I don't think so.
The main female character in that has similar eyebrows. It's a specific type of art style. I've seen it before, so it didn't like jump out to me as
It threw me off for a second because those are like giant fuzzy caterpillars on her face at this point.
But yeah, 14-15, another one I didn't name for some reason.
That I fell for it. I did the thing. Q is a guy.
Yeah.
But is so adorable and has like this everything going on about it. I keep defaulting back because I'm like, oh, that's what I'm seeing here. So this is my bad. I keep making that mistake constantly.
But yeah, we get another spread showing Q apparently done drawing and enjoying the sun on his face. Close up on his eyes, which I couldn't tell was meant to indicate that they were different from everyone else's, and this is where I wrote out my thought process on this. Vilda, Yamoka, Cardo all have 2 limbo rings surrounding their pupils. You know, everyone in Ox Earth. It was at this point that I searched through the rest of the manga to double check, and unfortunately, most people don't have their eyes don't open their eyes all that much. However, there are 2 guys later on that have normal single limbo ring eyes, and they are on Earth, so assumedly they are Earthians. It's hard to tell, as there have only been 2 people other than our main characters with clearly visible eyes, and even in the flashback, Vilda only has 1 limbo ring in her eye for a scene, so it might mean nothing.
Right. But it is a detail that you kind of put a pin on and keep a lookout, because, of course, I still have my own theory, too.
Well, like I said, we're going to get to the future bin where Vilda, who is also shown having 2 little rings, as you pointed out when we were in the first page, in a flashback where I would highly argue she has no time to operate on her eyes or have her eyes operated on, is shown with only single limbo rings. So, I mean, it could just be the art.
It could be. But that leads us into our next page, of course, where Q is gone ahead and taken out of their distractions here, and Dr. Vilda is now talking to them. And we get the return of the chibi faces. Look at that. Oh, isn't that so cute? It's cute, chibi.
Yeah, I get a lot of that in Deadpool comics. 16 through 19 I call growing up. Vilda calls down calls down to. She's clearly calling up to. What the hell passed me? Your bad notes. Calls up to Q to come off the roof as it's time to get back on the road. Another close-up of Q's eyes with a distortion, as though teary-eyed, but I suspect it's meant to show excitement. On 17, Vilda comments that Q is all smiles today, which Q attributes to feeling taller, while on top of the trailer, going so far as to say that space feels all that much closer, and that they'd love
to go to space.
Yeah, they'd love to go to space one day. While Vilda implies that he's too young to understand how far away space really is, Q rebuffs her by saying he will get stronger and go to space with her.
No, my favorite line. I'll get super buff and go to space.
Well,
love it. It's very cute.
That's also something to read into, which I think I have notes later on entirely about.
Cute.
Page 18 is a comedic affair of Kiyu trying to help Vilda with the packing, but being too short to put the packages where they need to go. Vilda says
as well.
Vilda says just to leave this kind of thing to grown-ups. And page 19, the last of growing up, starts with Q in a huff, thinking to themselves that someday they will be able to do it. Allusion to later in the story I've written, because again, I have further notes about this being an important thing. And not just like character development important, like this could be a horror story important.
This is also important, of course, to the story in a very temporal manner, because this comes up as a reasoning for things that happen later.
In the bottom panel, we see that they are also running on empty, no fuel.
Yep, of course, every car lies about how much fuel it has, because you should go get fuel before you're empty.
Well, we also come to realize later on that that's not referring to the vehicle. Page 20 to 22, I've labeled The Detour. Kiyu starts pestering Vilda. Sorry, sometimes my notes are just so fucking stupid that I have to bring them up. I've written down Kiyu starts pestering the Vilda. The Vilda.
Oh, Vilda.
Vilda about the detour they're making instead of heading directly to wherever it is they are going. We get introduced to the fact that the terrorist attacks are common in this area of the world, and that their detour should take them around the most afflicted areas.
So, this actually brings up a interesting thought here. Where in the world are they, Theta? They're in a place that is adjacent to the coast, has a highway, has mountains, and they are going north.
Are you going to indicate Texas?
No, California.
I was thinking California, but I thought you were like...
everything is oriented. Because there's like only a couple of places I think that could possibly fit. So, this brings up the point that they're heading north to Edmonton again. Yeah, it's the capital of the world. It's back, baby.
Well, that was California. I'm not concerned. That was Canada.
Right, and you go north to get to Canada from California. It all makes sense.
Well, no, first you go to Oregon, then you go to Washington. Anyway, I thought you were just being prideful about a state, but I thought that's the only reason I guessed Texas.
Oh, no, I was just being cheeky. So,
right,
but I do like that we have our little Haro like stapled to the top of the vehicle.
Well, on 21, we addressed the fuel empty panel from before, as Vado referred to it as a child must be hungry. Referring to their navigation display, they talk about heading to a station along the coastline to resupply. Then we go to 22, where I've written down a navigation arrow, because I can only assume that's what it is.
Yeah.
Announces their destination change, and we get an external shot of the vehicle traversing a desert. A second shot pans in, even closer on the cabin, showing a marker on the outside of it, which is important for later.
Right, that's going to indicate which organization they're a part of here.
Or claiming to be a part of.
So, like, slight tangent. Are Haros basically just like cell phones to people in terms of like usability? Just like, yeah, just use your Haro for the GPS.
I guess. Or like Furbies of the future.
Yeah.
Future Furbies, the FF.
Haros are just a thing that exists in Gundam now that they just keep throwing in, like Chocobos in every Final Fantasy or something. I just expect to see them now.
Yeah.
But continuing on.
23 to 25. Well, I call it Vilda's narration, because that's basically all it is.
Oh yeah, we take a brief little philosophical tour here, don't we?
We get another long, winding view of the roads going through the desert as the narration makes an analogy to them being representative of history of mankind. Then we see the space elevator again. Sorry, my voice is going. Then we see the space elevator again as the narrator comments on mankind extending their reach, unsure of if the art style is trying to denote layered metal plates or not, as the base of the tower almost seems to be aged, crumbling stone, almost reading to me as though it's fallen into disuse. On page 24, we see the approach of the coast and the station as the trees appear to be more palm style, and the road seems to be more urban.
Right, this just adds to the they're in California vibe here.
Right. The narration once again clarifies it's been 5 years since the Vanadis incident, and also that the researchers there got titled witches. So that's our official definition of witches, researchers of the Vanadis Institute. She almost seems regretful as she notes that her journey has led her to travel with Kyu and shows no signs of ending. Next page shows gulls, letting us know further that we are close to the coast.
Yep.
The narration indicates that they are seeking signs of something as they travel further on. The roads in this bottom panel also show traffic instead of being the only vehicle on the road, as in so many panels before.
They're in fact getting closer and closer to a place where a lot of people are.
Yep.
So it does kind of bring up a question: what exactly are they looking for? They haven't indicated yet, but you know what? Probably doesn't matter yet.
Well, it's funny because further chapters will reveal that they're also moving away from something. So, quite the opposite.
Right, a lot going on here. 26, of course, we do have a high view of the place that they've just arrived at, a charging station and maintenance for long-haul transport vehicles. And, of course, we get more chibi.
Yep.
I do like this view. This is actually very, very neat.
Well, I could have done without the line in the middle for the second and third panels, but yeah.
Sure.
26 to 28 I have titled Explanation of Stations.
Indeed, they go over like the batteries, where the vehicles are, what people do, and of course they set up to go and run on their errands.
Important thing here. We are also introduced to a new company, Roleplay Corp, that handles space exploration as well as continental transportation. All the vehicles that use the station belong to subsidiary companies under Roleplay. I thought I had more there. Kyu says that they want to buy one of the batteries for an errand. Builder reminds them that they are too small still and to leave it to grown-ups. Here's the note. Roleplay sounds like a competitor to the Bennett Group. Instead of producing mobile suits for combat, they build and maintain transportation networks.
Yeah, this is actually one of the first not mobile suit oriented companies we've just looked at. That's nice. And I also love this interior view of basically what is a warehouse mall.
Right. Further notes on that, in fact. Well, the description. Kyu looking comically worried that they'll be found out if they go inside, to which Vilda comments that their information has already been falsified. They get sent to slot 406 to charge, in an area for industrial material. And here's the notes I have on that little bottom two panels. Again, could have been better served without that line in the middle. No reason why it's there, other than that you got handed a page to draw on.
I guess it's supposed to tell you this is the way your eyes are wandering. You're starting from the top and you're going to the bottom. But that's also unnecessary.
Bottom panel seems to feature an ad for Resistance, raised fists in a poster. Also, a sale for a mobile suit that looks like a demi-trainer.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I really love the cute little advertisement there. It's like, new demi-trainer on sale now.
I should say, anytime a mobile suit appears in this comic, I went through all the corporations to look at what their mobile suits looked like, to see if they lined up. And there's only one of them so far that I could not place. Like, it's an original mobile suit for this.
That's some good research. So, as we continue on, of course, we have our scientists going on their little supply drive right here. I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind here for a moment
All right,
trying
well,
to describe what I'm seeing.
page 29 through 31 I have labeled as undercover. Vilda puts on the classical
There you go.
disguise, coat, hat, glasses.
No one will ever suspect a thing. She's the fanciest trucker there. And of course, we have Kyu on page 30 with the most adorable stack of coffee ever.
Well, wait, don't jump to 30 yet because...
Okay, you got some details.
Well, let's see, something scarce. Supplies are scarce due to terrorist attacks on roleplay. Says it'll only take 30 minutes to charge the mobile suit. Well, because there's a thing happening in the last panel that I wanted to get to before we jump to the 30. And unfortunately,
Okay.
I didn't write my notes in an easy-to-read manner. That's why I'm not trying to talk over you if it seems like that's what I'm doing. It's that I'm trying to read the things I've noticed, and unfortunately, I've just written them into these massive run-on paragraphs. It says that she'd like nothing more than to get further away from something. So this is where she indicates that they're not only heading somewhere, they're also running from something.
Right.
And suggested that her and Q are running from something. I, for some reason, didn't note here, but the commotion that you're talking about, or I'm sorry, the commotion happening in page 29, last panel, is happening because of what you're starting to talk about in page 30.
Right. Yeah, taking a look, we got like the reverse shot of it there at the very bottom on page 30, right?
Well, it's because it's what's drawing, I'm about to call her Vidal, Vilda in from page 29 to find out what the hell is happening in page 30. Oh, also, by the way, what kind of coffee is that, Griff?
Oh, why, of course it is Poseidon Coffee, which at first I thought was Cthulhu on the cup, but no, that is actually just a guy with puffy hair and a beard, I think.
Oh, is that where you got the name from, the cup?
Yes.
I guess I was the only one zooming in on that woman's chest. I didn't think about looking at the cups.
To be fair, I think that one is actually even bigger.
Maybe I was looking at a different pair of cups.
But you know what? This actually gives me, like, the best thing for me to remember that Kyu is a guy. Is that Kyu is trying to carry everything at once. This is guy behavior right here.
I made a note about that too. They suggest that they have a knack for balancing things, but even in the next to last frame, it looks like the top cup is about to be lost.
Oh, I mean, that's just classic right there. That's gonna happen.
Vilda's looking on in amusement and possible embarrassment due to the fact an entire crowd of people has gathered around Kyu as they order and carry this absurd number of coffees.
How many is that? That's like there's like 5 on the bottom, then 4, then 3. And then of course there might be a few more because it's like a pyramid or not just a triangle of them.
Well, assumedly you could count them out later on when Vilda, puts them all on the table.
Ah, true.
Page 31 has Vilda snatching the coffee cups away from Kyu, standing in the middle of a warehouse shopping area, asking what they were doing. Kyu says that knowing how much Vilda liked coffee, he thought it would be best to buy a lot of coffee and save some for later or tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who doesn't like the taste of coffee as is, day-old cups coffee does not seem like a great idea either.
Right, exactly. It is a very childlike perspective on it to say, 1, you like it, and 2, I bought a lot of it right now, and then you get to have it later.
Yeah.
Which is actually exactly what is going to be the conversation going on as we continue. Because Vilda will go ahead, put down the cups, and go ahead and start explaining a little bit, but in like the very nicest way too. It's like, go ahead and use your imagination. Think about the things that have happened and put it all together yourself.
The worst way to describe how to use your imagination.
I believe she's
32 through 37 is imagination.
Yeah, 32. Yeah. I do love the bottom of the page 32, which is imagine as the background, which is great for me.
Well, that has to be coming from Kyu, because Kyu's little chibi face there is the only one doing anything close to imagine.
Yeah. But I think one way or another, Vilda is showing off that she can, in fact, be a teacher and is maybe even good at it, I think. I feel that's what these pages demonstrate in some capacity. Or at the very least, that she's very patient with Kyu and knows how they work. So they continue to go ahead and discuss, like, hey, the fact that I drink coffee frequently doesn't necessarily mean, like, I like it. I kind of go forward for the effect instead. And of course, Kyu is, very, very suddenly panicked at realizing that they have made a very grievous mistake. Honestly, every face Kyu makes is great. Let's see, going on to 34, of course, we have a longer explanation. Do I really want the coffee right now? Do I really need to buy all of it when our funds are so limited? Or should we put our coffee for the day after tomorrow into cups? Should we go ahead and make it now? Basically, literally everything we just discussed. And finally, the final nail in the coffin. Q is absolutely startled to learn that her friend does not like coffee. Leading us to, I think it was 36 is where you said you ended? Or 37, no. We still have 2 more pages of it, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, more explanations in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think that's even fewer cups of coffee than were shown before.
I mean, they could have lost some along the way.
But of course, she does cement the whole thing with, like, you wouldn't know this without using your imagination. You need to think about various things. You need to put everything together. And of course, as you can see, we don't really need it. To which Kyo goes, offers to drink it all like compensation for her mistake. And then reaffirms something that'll be going on further is, I will grow bigger and support you, Doctor.
Did I make
This is
a
a
note
running
here
theme.
about that yet? No, not yet.
Okay.
All right,
Well,
38 through 42 I have titled Deception. Sitting in an outdoor market, Vilda watches Q wander up to an ice cream truck. From behind her, 2 workers walk up asking if she is parked in slot 406. She is. They ask what kind of cargo is in her trailer, and she reiterates what she said when she first entered: industrial materials. On the next page, the workers ask if they can confirm that. Vilda becomes indignant, stating that they don't have the authority to inspect cargo at the station. The workers mention that Anuma Logistics is a material subcontractor and are seemingly about to raise a concern. Did I miss something there?
I'm not certain, but I guess I will go ahead and interject that here on the bottom of page 39. I do like just how casual these 2 guards are. They are just kind of doing their job.
What
They're
do you
like,
mean
yeah,
casual? Look at their mouths, Griff. Does that look casual?
Yeah, it looks like they kind of don't care about what they're doing. They're just kind of conversing at this point. They're just like, yeah, I feel bad for the terrorists too. Yeah, we kind of got to all put up with this. We got to do our job. You hate us for doing it. We understand.
Never
Whatever.
once have I talked to somebody with my mouth in this form. Or
It's
it was a
exaggerated.
casual conversation.
It's exaggerated anime complaining face is what it is.
Okay, if you tone it down, it's still wide open mouth.
You see, it's just all a problem all around.
The only
That's
explanation you're going to give me that could ever work, Griff, is the first guy yawned and the second guy had to yawn.
Hey, he could. Maybe they did. You don't know that.
Anyway, more importantly, is above that, Vilda's pointing out the company logo, which we had seen before, and she'd already said about falsifying and decrying it is the real deal. And then that's when your nonchalant workers launch into a spiel about the company being suspected of supplying weapons to a terrorist group that rose up against the station. That they feel bad for the terrorists, understanding their frustration about the Earthians, but they have to deal with it. So in times like these, exceptions are made for inspections.
Right. And then, of course, we go up to the next page, where, of course, they are ready to start confiscating things. That they have to confirm what's going on, what's in the truck.
What's in the truck?
And meanwhile, Vilda is like considering, like, can I bribe them? Can I get out of this? And realizes that she's in a corner. There's no cover she can use that will keep herself concealed just because of the other terrorism events that are still spreading and going on. They are ruining her ability to hide.
These are also the two workers I referred to before, because you can zoom in on their eyes. Because all the other times they had their eyes closed for some reason. But you can zoom in here. Single limbal ring. Both of them.
Indeed, they are Earthians, unmodified.
Well, I mean, again, we don't know that that means anything. For now, it's just a theory. A manga theory.
On the next page, of course, we have some actually very nice art rendering of the warehouses. Like, that's a shipping crane up there at the top, and the someone spent a lot of time lineating every single box on those shelves.
Yep. We get more internal monologue over the shots of the station as... this is one of my old ones, because I've literally written Vidal considers making a call to Anuma Logistics, or even a higher-up from Roleplay Corporation. Didn't understand what she mentioned buying time to break into the security system, since the suggestion was that the guards themselves might be on the sly. It is even referenced in the next text bubble when she suggests that bribing them might work if they are Earthian. Does that suggest a Spacian might not be as bribable? What does that even say about the existing disparity?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point if they're drawing across those lines on who's bribable and who's not.
Or is it saying that, sorry, now that I've written Vidal and I've read it out loud, it's on my head again. Does it suggest that Vilda is our space choo-choo? That she is the goddamn Earthians, get money-grubbing bastards, you're bribable. That she is our reverse, what do you call it?
I don't think she's making any of this out of malice or like any kind of like
It does not
racism.
matter. It does not matter where your racism comes from. It's still racism. I didn't mean anything.
What I mean to say here is, if you'll let me finish, is she's making a calculation, is what she's doing. That is what she cares about here the most.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't make it better. Literally, she's like, they're Earthians. I could probably bribe them. Which suggests the opposite. Right? Oh, damn it, they're Spacians. They're immune to bribes. It's not a good look.
But I think more importantly, it wraps up saying, like, she needs to prepare for stuff and she doesn't want to make sacrifices. That's her perspective on what's going on and how she would like things to go. But that's not exactly what she's about to get. Instead, as we move into 42, she mentions that she's trying to avoid being pursued as a witch. She knows how to fabricate her evidence, but Kyu realizes that the doctor is in a jam. Without even having to say anything, just noticing that she is very frustrated with events, puts Kyu into action, as we see. And she immediately starts running off as cutely as possible in 43.
But 43 to 49 starts my self-labeled distraction. Q, as you mentioned, starts running off to begin their plan to make a fake call to the company when the trailer just opens up completely and seemingly almost killing all three people present, as they're in one shot appear to be standing just on, in front of it, and then the next shot they're standing just to the side of it.
Oh, actually, if you take a look at the top panel right there, where Q is running off, you can see that they are in between trailers right there.
Right,
so they are actually at the slightest angle.
The next panel down, she's right in front of it. The in-between is way off in the distance. It's not a very good shot, I guess. 44 to 45 is a spread that gives us our first look at Gundam Lift with GU. As Vilda obviously thinks it's a bad idea, or it's a bad thing that everyone's seen it.
Right, she's already panicking. This is not the response she was hoping for, but it's the response that she gets.
46 to 47 is another spread, with GU just standing over the three of them. The workers are shouting out that it's a mobile suit, parentheses, lost opportunity to shout it's a Gundam.
Yes! Oh gosh, it's so close.
As Kyu shouts for the doctor to start the trailer. Page 48 shows us Kyo's gremlin face as they confidently shout that they will handle this somehow. Vilda quietly says that she will just have to live with this and tosses a hot coffee at the workers as she sprints off towards the cabin of the truck. By the way, I have to say I was confused for way too long by the shit that's hot before I realized she threw coffee at them.
Gosh. I mean, it comes right back around to, like, these guards are, like, casual and completely unprepared. That, like, the coffee at them, like, immediately is highly distracting. There's nothing more they can do. They're defeated.
Next page sees Vilda leaping into the cabin and Jiu's giant foot blocking the way for the workers to stop her as the truck lurches forwards to pull away. Page 50 through 68 I have labeled First Battle because it's the first time we get to see Jiu in action.
Right, they start maneuvering their mobile suit security squad out. An anti-terrorism combat unit, of course they're prepared. They've had attacks already.
The soccer hooligans are on their way.
They are in fact prepared for all of this. We have a lot of back and forth between Vilda and Kiyu.
Oh, wait, before you go on. Page 50 specifically. These are the mobile suits that I could not place for any other look, because no other mobile suit has this domed helmet look with the shoulder bits looking exactly the same. Some of them in the show have like a tri-stitched shoulder pattern, but none of them have this double that goes down to solid arms, and the chest patterns are different as well. So completely different look to anything I could find in the anime.
Right. But as we go ahead and move along, Vilda and Kiyu are butting heads a little bit. Kiyu's plan is completely half-baked and defeats the whole point why they were hiding in the first place. And of course, they have to be reminded that they do in fact still need to charge and get a battery before they leave.
This is step 2, and by the way, of my confusion on the fuel comment. Because remember, that child must be hungry. 0 fuel. So, can't refer to the truck unless you're referring to the truck as a child, but you can't be because you're driving the truck, clearly not out of fuel. Jiu makes sense to refer to as a child, is moving around, running around, doing shit, clearly not out of fuel. Now there is one other thing to come later that we'll also see is not out of fuel. So, it's a very confusing statement.
It's not out of fuel, it's on empty, telling you need to get fuel. There's just enough to maneuver around this little base and try to get somewhere, and then immediately run out. Because they're going to mention later on that they're not going to get very far because they're out of fuel, which is the trailer.
Okay, that doesn't make sense when you have a register of how much fuel you have that's in numbers. They're literally 0, which doesn't indicate that they're low on fuel. It's not like they put the stick in. Oh, looks like we're low on fuel. No, they are 0.
They're running on fumes. But of course, in our next panel here, 51, Kiyu is already panicking at mobile suits and has a plan to take him down in a flash, which is, again, just adorable little posing right here.
My page 52 notes are, the mobile suits close onto the transport, and it kind of looks like the Jiu is hiding behind the main ridge on the front of the vehicle. Because if you recall, the very first trailer on the vehicle has this massive thing on it. And it looks like Jiu is like, run behind it, they won't see me.
It's more or less just jogging to keep up is what I think is what's going on, but fair enough. It would be an obstruction. On 53, of course, they are discussing like what their options are. They don't want sacrifices. They don't want to kill. But why are you carrying around weapons if you're not going to fight?
Well, the sacrifice
this is the most
comment,
Gundam panel.
Well, the sacrifice comment's going to come into play very soon. And that flashback I keep mentioning, so we're kind of forgetting where it's going to show up, and I'm hoping it's showing up soon.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't carrying that around just to fight.
So maybe there's a second thing that they're carrying around we don't know about yet, and they don't show it yet either.
That's literally my note, is unsure of if that is Jiu or the thing in the other trailer we haven't been shown yet. Vilda goes into another breakdown of their energy situation and worries that there might be no way out.
Follow up, of course, with a brief flashback of violence, which has definitely scarred Vilda as much as possible.
We get another flashback of Vilda's past, assumedly on the asteroid Falk Wagner. It looks like someone named Shijima sacrificed themselves in order to give her time to escape. As we see the people with the guns rushing into a room as a bloody body, and this is my interpretation of what I'm seeing here, with holes being shot into it. Like, it looks like the dude is holding himself out like that, right? And that the
he's
holes,
taking the shots.
Yeah, that the holes are actively being made. Shot into it, stands in front of her saying, "Not to give up on Cardo's wish, impossible is not in our ideals." Also, zoom in on her eyes, Griff.
Oh, we have it. She's not enhanced in that first one, and then in the second one, she has the ring.
Right, but if this is the asteroid being destroyed, then when was their time, Griff? They're the only people who can do it.
Maybe that was page 1, and it happened slightly later. But of course...
Wait, what do you mean page 1?
I mean, like, back when the surgery was happening. Maybe that's Vilda on the table.
Wait, no? Wait, that's what I'm saying. That doesn't make any sense. Are you saying that dude gets shot in front of her? She says, "Wait 1 second, guys. Preps for surgery." And then has a third party operate on her in the middle of how long did it take them to kill everybody on Falk Wagner? Not that long. The time it took to give one speech, in fact, was how long it took to kill everybody on Falk Wagner.
Right. Ultimately, something happens, but we see Q's master plan here at the bottom, which is, of course, to start bonking them.
Well, I described it as playing bongos on their shoulders.
It is as childlike of a potential plan of attack as possible that even the security force is taken aback by it. On 55, of course, she is, of course, trying to think hard about the plan. She wants to go ahead and get the energy. She needs the batteries. And they are starting to come together on the plan. I think Vilda is starting to realize what is happening. Or what she needs to do. On 56, she immediately does not want to do it. This, of course, follows up with Q trying their best to be Vilda's support in this situation, where, of course, everything is going just a little crazy. Why do you think everything's going to be fine? Well, just a feeling. They are just a kid. And then, who's giving the voiceover right there, do you think?
I'm sorry, what page are we on again?
Gundam. 56.
Okay,
the
make sure I didn't go
and
ahead.
the omnipotence brought by the augmentation of limbs fuels Kyu with a sense of confidence. That's just the narrator, isn't it?
I've attributed those to Vilda the entire time.
Yeah. This does, of course, explicitly state Kyu is fully augmented.
See, I was getting ready for page 57. That's why I want to make sure I didn't just jump ahead of you. Because I did something weird on 57 where I said, I'm still getting this thought, and then realized that I actually made that initial thought on the last page of this. So I've done a thing where I've future said something. Anyway.
There you go.
But yeah, Vilda thinks that the combination of the Gundam system, along with the various body augments Q has, is making them overconfident. Is how I read that.
A powerful kid with the mind of a kid inside of a giant robot.
Well,
specifically, Vilda realizes this is a terrible combination.
Specifically, I'm going to read this part out for 57 because that's where this thought is going to appear now, even though I'm going to say it's the second time I've had it for some reason. The first panel continues on Vilda's thought process about Q essentially calling him a young boy by, I don't know my wording, that comes to grow up all too quickly and in need of support. Q, absent of the thought bubbles, hits back with support of his own for Vilda, saying that since it's just the two of them, that things will work out. and again, this will forgive me for my future tense of a thing I haven't said before yet. I'm still getting the interview with a vampire sense from all of Vilda's thought bubbles, though, that something major was done to enhance this kid that will prevent him from ever really growing up.
Oh dear.
And I think I'll just jump ahead to that thought because I've said it now and I think it needs the explanation of I think he was a humanoid robot or even a cyborg that goes far beyond the gun format stuff. Really getting the interview with a vampire vibes from that little girl that could never grow up. That what they've done to Q, I believe, is permanent. And that all of this, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be big and I'm going to be able to help you out, is going to be the eventual breaking of Q to realize that Q is never...
Big.
Yeah, that same way the interview with the interview with the little vampire, interview with a vampire, the little girl who got turned into a vampire's little girl, has the horrifying realization that no matter what she does, for the rest of eternity, it's going to be a little girl. That Kiyu, because at some point in this whole thing, Vilda makes mention of Giyu, the Gundam, as Kiyu's body. Because that's how integrated they are, and that Kiyu is never going to grow up. Giyu is his grown-up version.
Yeah. Let's see. So they do, of course, reinforce their bonds. I would definitely say 57 is like also the heart of it. So maybe the fact that it's going to be tragic is also additionally worrying. Because
Like
this reinforces the road trip where the two of them rely on each other. And this is them stating this out loud. This is what the story is.
Well, remember, they're running from something and they're running to something. Mm-hmm. And like I said, this can all be a horror story that we just don't know yet. And I also want to make the more meta comment that this was, when this was originally posted, people were saying that it had a comic stint to it, like it's all going to be humor or something. And my immediate response to that on Twitter was that remember how Witch from Mercury, the anime, started, and that we start lighthearted so that the impacts of the hard stuff get you harder later. That came out wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of dark implications already happening, but these characters are happy, fun, and enjoy interacting with each other, which just makes the whole thing fun.
But you can just imagine the I'm in love with you, Doctor, turning into what did you do to me later.
Yeah. And of course, that's right. It's just you and me, kid. As she goes ahead and considers, well, we may as well go ahead and try it. They're willing to do whatever it takes to get to their destination, which must be very important.
Also suggesting that they have a destination that they are trying to reach, and that she's willing to do whatever it takes to get there. Sorry,
Edmonton, man.
At first, I thought the bottom panel was supposed to be neurons in the brain, but I think it's actually just a tree full of leaves. End parenthesis, end bracket, dot, end bracket. Dumb face is what I was trying to indicate. I don't know why, because you had, like, what was it, 2 pages ago? Yeah, 2 pages ago with the whole firing of neurons thing that looks like it's... No, I'm sorry, that's...
Yeah, that's an arm.
Yeah, but what's the, like, the lines representing, right?
They're just polygons.
I thought they were, like, synapses. Anyway, that's what I was reading into, so the moment we get an actual fucking tree, that throws me off.
The action is definitely getting thicker, though. As we go ahead and move into 59, the security is escalating their response, at which point Vilda decides that now is the time for them to go out all out and increase their response, to which he seems very happy about. As they pull out the giant arm!
Yeah.
61.
We get a spread showing off what was in the trailer. An even bigger arm! It's got a set of rockets on the back side of it, a grip on the underside and the top side, and looks like one of those toy grabbers they make for kids. You know what I'm talking about? The squeezy thing on top and the extend a hand thing?
Right. It's really goofy, but we're about to see it actually rock everybody.
Well, it's showtime, right?
Yeah,
it's showtime!
Because, like, in the very next panel, it immediately, like, projects some sort of force shield and blocks the energy beams.
Yeah, another double-page spread where one of the beam rifles gets fired at the GU that uses the new arm to block the blast and creates a spread pattern around it reminiscent of every time Ariel's been shot and the gun bits formed a shield around it to disperse the blast.
And of course, on 64, we see immediate fallout where the arm deflects the beam and hits literally everything else in the warehouse because of it.
Yeah, unlike Astasia, there is no defense as it strikes cargo containers, people shouting to run for it and lamenting their lost goods. At the same time, the security forces marvel at the arm deflected the beam.
I would like to just take that single panel at the top, like, out of context, post it at that forum and go, so do you think this is still funny?
Well, I mean, no one's gotten hurt, so...
I mean, that's still Warzone imagery right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's the point, I guess.
Yeah.
65,
very fast.
Turning back on the security forces, Drew aims two of his fingers and fires a special beam cannon back at them. I got somewhat confused at all of this, because aren't they supposed to be out of fuel? This is where I bring it up in my narrative. Either the Jew was powerless, or the arm was powerless. The entire point of going to the battery, I thought, was for all of this. It didn't seem like the vehicle was running out, because they referred to it as the child when referencing the fuel gauge earlier. In the first panel, there's a symbol on the arm I thought was quite interesting. It's a set of triple swishes that I wonder if they represent anything. And I only bring it up because the Shinsei Development Corporation, Prosperous Company, logo is also 3 lines and a swish.
Let's see. Yeah, the action is moving a little faster here. We got our finger guns moving straight into a nice action shot of, like, grabbing the battery midair. Sorry. My brain is going a little bit.
Well, that was the thing I was trying to get interaction with, so the just moving on bit is... I don't think you even heard me.
Let's see. We have, like, a glorious action shot of grabbing the battery, followed up with fire and panic throughout the entire warehouse. 3 whole panels of just everything going absolutely crazy, and of course the security forces panicking as the Jew is picking up an entire crane and going for the gate. Like, is it gonna battering ram it or something? But as we see in the next panel, the plan is actually to form a giant ramp.
69 through 72 that I've labeled the escape.
Right. Because, of course, it's every kid's plan to just do a sick-ass jump, honestly.
I honestly got confused by this one as well. For some reason, we get what reads as a cry of exasperation from Q, shouting, "Come on." Why?
Yeah, that's,
I mean, I've accomplished my plan. Come on! What? Rushing from a Jew launches from the gate towards the back trailer. Next page is a spread showing the Jew landing on the trailer, shoving the entire rig forwards as Q on the inside shouts encouragement about continuing forwards. And in the next panel, we see the shorts of destruction left behind as workers and security look over the mess and seem confused about what just happened, while also considering it to be overkill. Leading us into 73 through 76, I've dubbed Aftermath.
Ah, yes. They finally escaped. They're using the coffee to cool off at this point.
I assumed they were so recklessly driving that she got nailed by a cup of coffee.
Exactly. But of course, Vilda's trying their best to recover, but Kyu's excited at their victory. They need to be on the lookout while they go ahead and fuel up the truck with the battery. They're putting all the equipment back and making sure that they are ready to go. But 74, end of that, they are going over, stumbling and learning the balance between body and mind, and the child with a body too big for his heart.
Well, this is also where the original Interview with a Vampire reference comes into play. Kyu is continuing his excitement, wanting confirmation how good they did. Well, it seems like Vilda is reclining for a moment's peace. We go back to narrative thought boxes over celebrating Jiu, as Vilda considers that this manner of stumbling and learning is the only way for Kyu to learn a balance between body and mind, mentioning that their body is too big for their heart. On the next page, we see that Jiu, again with Vilda, directly commenting that this is Kyu's body, also giving us a last name, Lavat, in case we hadn't seen it before. Interesting to note that a Lavat in the real world is a toy combining the words love and robot.
Oh boy.
Which is why my paragraph that I had to insert way up on the thing of Kyu is a humanoid robot in my estimation.
I mean, that's just dramatic naming at this point, because Q is basically a giant toy robot themselves.
And on the final page, Vilda announces that Kyu did very well, and that the journey to nurture his heart is far from over. Which, again, if you built yourself a boy that is a robot, you might have to teach him what it is to be human, in case they go on a rampage. And then, the term witch might be used in a bad way.
Yeah, like everyone else who's already hunting you. So that does at least conclude it right there. And I have to say, I really enjoyed this entire chapter. This was absolutely great. I think the amount of adorableness stuffed into it really kind of just wins me over entirely. But I do like the little action sequence that they had in it to kind of like try to spice it up and keep things interesting. Where we're getting bits of the world that we haven't. We have no idea about stuff going on Earth and Wish for Mercury yet. Which is why this is very interesting, where we have like how people are going about their day to day, how business is conducted, what people are doing or thinking, and what kind of technologies they have. This is fun stuff for me, I think.
All right, so I'm going to reach back to the very early bit where I said if I was my first time in contact from Witch Mercury, I would think that Cardo Nabu was the bad guy from the way that they were painted in that scene, right? Now imagine, what if Cardo Nabu is a cult leader, right? And she has a scientific cult where the only way that we can survive in space is by changing ourselves into these forms that are different from what we were before. That the only way that humanity can survive in space is different. And
is in fact to become giant robots.
Well, no, that was saying that they were getting all these pictures. Don't jump ahead of me, Griff. You're going to ruin the reveal. But yeah, the pictures that we get in the background isn't the end step. That picture of the person with the see-through back, and we see all these technical organs and the robot arms and everything like that. That those aren't the end step to surviving in space. Like we seem to consider every time we think about Cardo Nabu, that those are just the middle phase. Those are the experimental steps of how much humanity can we get rid of and still be alive. And that Quiet Zero is actually the end step. That Prospera is literally fulfilling exactly what Cardo Nabu wants. That putting a child in a machine is literally what we're designed for. And that Vilda here, in creating a humanoid, a cyborg, the child thing, is literally the middle step between the pictures that surround Cardo Nabu in the prologue of the anime, and Eri being a Gundam is literally the middle step between these 2 points is Kyu, the boy that will never grow up. And that Cardo Nabu, actually the villain, Prospera, the last devotee to Cardo Nabu that's alive, villain, which makes our hero, only in the past, unfortunately, Delling Rembrandt as our hero in the past, who is rallying against it, and unfortunately seems to have been gotten tainted by all of this, and is now on board with the Spacian cult.
Human instrumentality is a hell of a drug, honestly. But I think it's interesting that both series kind of like posture themselves in a similar way. I don't think Vilda is like as manipulative as Prospera or like as out for revenge as she is, which Prospera is great.
I mean, obviously, Vilda is manipulative. I think she's just regretful, whereas Prosper is sniffing in her own shit. She's like, oh,
She
yeah.
wants revenge and she is getting it, and nothing's going to stop her. But
Well, I think it's beyond that. It's beyond revenge.
Well, for comparing the two, they definitely rhyme in that way, where both have this parental figure over them who's a witch, who's in control, knows everything, and is kind of maneuvering or positioning their ward underneath them to become better with these machines. And the people who are dealing with the machines, Suletta and Kyu, may or may not think the same thing as they do, and may or may not come into conflict later. Like you were saying, like you have your entire theory that, like, well, what if they don't grow up, and this becomes the point of contention between them, where just like, I'm never gonna grow up be able to protect you, and that's where they split.
No. Not
Kyu and
I'm
Suletta
never
are
going to be able
going
to
to be
grow
the
up and
heroes.
protect you. It's I'm never going to be able to grow up and do anything a fucking human being that could grow up could do. It's going to grow past and protect you to, what the fuck did you do to me?
Right, exactly. But I guess my point is that both are positioned to be put upon by their circumstances and end up heroic against their parental figures who are definitely have their issues, is what I'll go ahead and describe easily as.
Actually,
They are set up to be the same, I think. Which also becomes interesting in its question
who the hell is with them on page 74, by the way?
On page 74.
First panel.
74, they have the machine. Are you sure it's page 74?
Yeah. First panel.
Where?
There's one person standing behind the trailer and two people standing in front of the trailer.
Ada, those are cactuses.
Those aren't cactuses. Two of them are actively walking.
Ada, the heat is causing you to see things. We need to get you out of this desert heat right away into
Look,
the
man,
air conditioner.
there's a person standing behind the trailer with his arms folded, all humble like. There's a guy with like a backpack in front of the trailer, and there's a person with robes walking in front of him. They're being followed, man. People are following these people.
Well, yeah, we've already covered that. They're running.
They're running from a thing. Doesn't mean the thing is following them. Sorry, I have zoomed in and realized that they are cactuses, but at the same time, the thing that they're running from doesn't mean that they're actively following them. They could be running, like Vilda could be running from the scene of the experimentation. Like, what if she had abducted a child, right? And then just did everything that made them into Kyu, and she's actively running away from that place as like a memory or an indictment of her wrongdoing.
We do need a bit more of that backstory between Vilda and Kyu. Who is Kyu? Where are they from? That's what I want to know.
Our flashbacks to Falk Wagner, there's never a Kyu there.
Mm-hmm.
So, we don't know.
She's too young for that, I think, so yeah.
Well, it's only been 5 years.
Well, I guess Eri was on that station, so.
Yeah. And look what happened to Eri, right?
Later. Actually, no, that's a good point for Vilda got the eyes done later, because who could have possibly put Eri into the suit?
Once again, though, my problem with that is that the only one capable of doing that to Vilda is Vilda.
There's more than one witch who survived, it seems.
Right, and we know one of them went to Mercury.
You have at least 3 of them.
Yeah, and then Balmara went to, what is, Elan's company called?
Peel Technologies.
Yeah, Peel Technologies, which is in space.
So,
she clearly went to Earth.
It looks like they got slaughtered, but it looks like plenty of them survived.
Also, Balmora is still the weirdest one of the bunch. I mean,
she is.
She's weirdest for being the most normal. You remember in the pre-episode 12 breakdown discussion,
Yeah.
I brought up the fact that she has a conversation, which is not aired, by the way, with her and Mjorn, where Mjorn asks her for information, and she looks super regretful, and then has a conversation with Mjorn that is not aired, and then we just come back later when it's all done. That she is completely regretful. Like she gives a speech like, I had dreams, and then I joined the project, and then we come back, and she's just sad. It's like, I brought that up before we found out everything. Like, when everything was still theory, but it's still the fact that, what'd you do to your daughter? Like, she says this knowing the group of people. Like, she drank the Kool-Aid and then got out real quick. Like,
yeah, I'm interested in more of her backstory here. We're gonna have to get more of that.
But she does all of that, then goes to Peel, and then develops the Faract for them, I guess. Because who else could have?
Nobody else. So, Theta, I think that basically covers everything for today then, doesn't it?
I guess so.
We got so many more extra thoughts here, but we're gonna keep coming up with those. We're gonna read more of the manga, we're gonna watch more of the series, and we are excited. So for I think right now, this has been Stoneface Reactions, everybody. I'm Griffin, that's Theta down there, and we'll catch you next time. See you around. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?